Yeah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. Salutations to the Akim in the four winds, preaching the truth of sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold through your father's lineage. You are the Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to you sisters, you Akwathim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. And it says, so this is Arizona Daily Sunday. And it says, what is it? Arizona minimum wage to rise, right? So they talking about the minimum wage is going to rise. What? Again, right? And you know what that is? That's just them adjusting to inflation so the people won't panic, because ultimately the dollar has basically ultimately been losing its value since the 1930s, since they took it off from the backing of gold and silver, since they went and took the quarters and the nickels and the dimes that actually used to have silver in them. They took them back and took out the silver and the gold that was in the coins, but mostly was silver, right? But they took it back, which is quite very, very familiar, which proves to you that this place is Rome. This place is Greece. This is the second leg of the Roman Greco Empire, which is Babylon the Great, right? Which is set to be destroyed, right, and turned into a desert, right? So it says, and we're in the desert now, which is talking about Arizona, which this whole place is going to be a desert, from California to New York, from Texas to Detroit is going to be a desert, right? From Dallas or Houston to Detroit, it's going to be a desert real soon. It says triggering increases in Flagstaff, Tucson, right? So this thing is going to trigger what increase or influx of things that they're going to need to raise it up so people can afford to so-called live, right? It says, Phoenix, what would you buy for an extra $20 a week? A nice meal, a car mount for your phone, an extra 4 gallons of gas. That's the choices that will be facing Arizonans at or a near the bottom of the pay scale, right? Yeah, because what are you're making money at McDonald's or whatever it is, and and even if you do got a so-called a decent job, when you're making maybe $20 an hour, these days don't feel like you're making $20 an hour, right? Because back in the day, you're making $20, you were living good. Now $20 an hour, you're barely skating by, even at $20 an hour. You can make 22, 23, 24, 25, 20, 26, $27 an hour, and you're basically feeling it too, right? But definitely for the people who's making only $14, right? Right here it says like 14.35, but it says the bottom of the pay scale in January. So they start talking about this at the beginning of the year, when the minimum wage rises again, rises another 50 cents to 14.35, right? So, but the question of how many people actually are working below that minimum right now is le, less than clear. Right? So you got, there's plenty of people, and they know the numbers, right? Because Esau's, his whole thing is categorical. He categorizes everything as inflation and a tighter labor market has forced, right? Because really, it's what it's, at the end of the day, that's really what it is: inflation. And a tight labor market has forced many employers to offer more than that just to get applicants in the door. Right, yeah, because we know a lot of these corporations have been duking people, man. They they're making not just thousands of dollars, sometimes not even just millions of dollars. You're talking about billion-dollar corporations, and here it is. They want to give you $14 an hour. You know, it shouldn't even be about inflation. It just should be about a fair pay, knowing that you're this place that you can afford it, especially like a place like McDonald's. McDonald's is all the way over in Russia. There's a McDonald's in China. You should see these McDonald's, and they're not serving you great food, but every day, no matter where you go at, McDonald's has a line around the corner, right? But they only want to pay their employees, which that's the thing I don't get about these, especially these corporations like Ford and, why didn't you want to pay you say you love America, right? Right? You pay them good. Plenty of people would buy a good, not a freaking janky American car that breaks down every so often. You pay the people so they can make a good quality car. But you don't want to do that. You want to send the thing overseas, make some crap, send it back, and then the American people are supposed to just buy it just because it's an American, which at this point of this minimum wage and this inflation and all these things, they can't afford it. Then on top of that, it being an American car, instead of you being able to get parts right here in America, because there should be factories building these parts, you have to get it shipped. Oh, like if this car is a Honda or some type of foreign car, Mercedes or BMW or something. Oh, I can't find this part in America. You know what? I gotta find your part way over here in Nova Scotia, whatever. Some craziness, man. And this is for an American product. See, but the whole thing is, this is why it's hard for them to get the people through the door. But another thing is what? The grinding, right? Let's get to the scriptures, man, because the grinding is gonna get low in America, man. Yeah, so this is James chapter 5 verse 1. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries," right? Which is plurals, man, because in Job it says that they should be in straits, right? Straits means what? A place of difficulties, right? Like Elder Karatazah in Tucson says that the Lord is speaking to a specific type of Edomite. He's not speaking to you low-level Edomites. You know what I mean? This is directly talking to these elites that shall come upon you, right? It's not talking to the average everyday Edomite, though miseries are going to come upon you too. But it's directly talking to the elite who have control over all these things. Your riches are corrupt, right? Because what they deal by corruption. You see that in the movie or the little Netflix show, Painkiller. Look how they get their riches, and it's by corruption. And he's one of those Jewish people, right? You know you know, and that's just a low level scale of how they get their riches. You know, it's corrupt, and your garments are moth eaten, right? Because what the things are starting to unravel, and people are starting to see uh uh the BS basically, right? Because normally when you have a nice, good, clean shirt on, it's good, it's nice, whatever. No one really notices you or whatever, but you start seeing holes because it's moth eating. You're like, something ain't right about this dude, right? All the little promises and all of this and that, and we're gonna bring back better, right? Which that's Esau saying. We're impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate place. We're gonna build back better, right? But build back better for who? For them, because the riches are for they got by ill gain. Why plenty of soldiers, so-called regular American citizens, are murdered and killed and kidnapped, and child sex traffic, drugs, all sorts of things. While they make money, you're the one who's suffering. You're the one who can't pay your bills. You're the one who's missing your loved ones and have not found them. And it says your gold and your silver is cankered, right? See, and that kind of goes into what I was saying back in the 1930s. Was it Roosevelt pulled the silver and the gold off of the standard of backing the dollar, and also they pulled the gold and the silver out of the coins, which is the same thing that they did in Rome, right?
It's off gold standard. On June 5, 1933, the United States went off the gold standard, a monetary system in which currency is backed by gold, when Congress enacted a joint resolution nullifying the right of creditors to demand payment in gold.
Right, so right here. Yep, it says it. So on June 5th, 1933, the United States went off the gold standard, right? And the gold standard was what? To back the money up, so the money had what? Power. So the money had buying power, right? So it didn't flex or didn't bend with the way the market bends the way today is, right? If it did, it wouldn't be by much. Why? Because the gold consistently pretty much stays the same price, right? It may go to a dollar to whatever, but it's never gonna be, just a ridiculous, where it's gonna be worth a quarter, and you gotta spend more dollars to equal. You know what I mean? You gotta spend more dollars that's only worth a quarter now to make a dollar. You know what I mean? To equivalent of a dollar. To sort of speak. You would never have to do that. Why? They took off the gold, the back by gold, the currency, right?
1965, President Johnson approved the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from circulating coins and authorized that clad coins be used for the half dollar, quarter, and dime.
Yeah, so there you go. So they started removing what's the silver from the coins. President Johnson approved it, right? In 1965, removing silver, right, from the circulating coins, right? So that silver would have gave more buying power to the American people. So that's like another way of being a fraud, right? That's fraud. right? That's where or corrupt, right? So you got your what it said. You got your money by corruption. That's corrupt. There was silver and now is no not silver in there anymore. It's corruption, right? Right there it says okay. It says parallels between Roman Empire and the United States. So parallels between Rome and the United States. The Roman Empire and the United States are history's most influential powers through spreading though separated by time and geographics. There are some striking parallels between the rise, development, and potential decline in this blog post will dive into the similarities and differences between these two mighty civilizations, focusing on the past 40 years of the United States. Yeah, so right here it says economy in inequality and struggles. It says the Roman Empire in Rome, wealth was heavily concentrated in the hands of a few elites, right? Which we know about, especially these days, where like I said, the moth eating. We're knowing about the Illuminati. We're knowing about these elites, these lower illuminated ones. That's basically your presidents. They're lower illuminated ones. Your Congress, all these different people, your mayors. Those are lower illuminated people, man. They're not really part of that club either. Because when all hell breaks, the elites are gonna leave them, man. While they were playing their game, not understanding that the elite they're gonna leave them. They're not gonna allow you. They're not gonna allow you to get on their spaceships to go into their space shuttles. They're not gonna allow you to go into their bunkers in the mountains or in the hills or under the ground. They're not gonna allow you. Right? So why your mayors and your governors and even a lot of these so-called Congress people, your lower level illuminated people, they don't give a damn about you, right? But everything's a game, so you can have a little bit better, but you already living. But but it says most of the population lived in poverty, right? And these are just the parallels between the Roman Empire and what America, which we know that we're in the second leg of Rome. That's why it's parallel, right? But it says leading the social leading to social unrest and resentment. This inequality was exacerbated by Roman tax system. So it just increased. It was already bad, but they laid on more taxes. Which this is the time that Israel was standing up. They were, they were the main ones who was like, hey, look, we tired of these taxes. That was the main ones who really actually stood up against the taxes was Israelites, was of this time, which disproportionately burdened the lower class, right? So put more burdens on the lower class, which what do you think is happening right now? The whole thing, and it's really they're it's inflation. So they have to say that they're giving a minimum wage raise, but it's just inflation. So if they raise the minimum wage, things kind of seem like they stay the same. But and they're gonna be able to do that to kind of fool you, like, oh well, everything's kind of still all right until that hyperinflation kicks in, and then there's no mistaking it, and that's when all hell breaks loose. It says United States including in inequality inequality in the United States has been rising from for the last past 4 decades, which that's not true. It's been way before that, but yeah, but it's get started like that moth eating. It's starting to be to a point where you just see it. You know it. You're seeing what's going on. Though you want to put your head in the sand like an ostrich. Now this coming to a point that moth eating to these elite. It's you can't hide it no more, right? And they're showing you that which with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, which is come on, it's parallel. It's exactly the same thing, but but that's Esau in his goddamn words, man. Has led the social tensions and concerns about the long-term stability of the nation's economic system, which they're going through the exact same thing, right? Pulling the gold and silver from the dollar bills, all these different things that they did from the coins, parallel, man. And they're gonna go into social unrest and resentment also. Yeah, someone come back right here to James 5:3. It says your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rust of them, which the rust of them shall be a witness against you. Which yeah, your thing is moth eaten. The corrupt ways that you've been getting your money is starting to be a witness against you. People are starting to see, and people are starting to be like, hey, look, I ain't working like that no more. You're gonna have to pay me more. You know what I'm saying? The rich keep getting richer, the poor keep getting poorer, which is nothing new because this was happening in Rome, right? But people are like, hey, we're not gonna be working like that. So it says so it's starting to be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire, right? Which is gonna go into what? It's really the ICBM missiles, right? Because at least the missiles is gonna tear apart the whole Edomite structure, right? But before that, what it's going to be? What the race wars, the famine, the death, the pestilence, things that Esau is actually setting up because he thinks if he does it, maybe he could control it. But there's going to come a time where the Lord is going to show you that you're not in control, and it's going to go completely out of your control, and you're going to know that there's a God, man. You're going to know that there's a power that rule over all this stuff, man. Which a lot of them know, but you've been in power so much, you feel that you may can overthrow the power that created you. But it says ye have heaped up treasures together for the last days, which really for the elect. They're gonna put that gold and silver and things into a nice air conditioned volted hyper chamber, unable to be hitting, it's going to be resistance against nuclear weapons and fire, and it's going to be this the greatest hyper chamber ever. Like nothing's gonna happen, but it's really gonna be for the elect of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, starting with Yahushua and King David, right? But it says behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, the hire of your laborers, right, which is the average so-called citizen that's out here, right, whom have reaped down your fields, right, working in your little factories and this and that, and then you send the jobs overseas to try to, I don't know, make more money, which you're already filthy rich. So why wouldn't you make sure that the so-called American people, which you don't really love America, they don't really care. How? But it says which is of you kept back by fraud, right? Crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped have entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, right? Which means armies, right? But let's check this out. Kept back by fraud.
Strong's G 650. Apostereo.
The fraud, robbed, despoiled. Which you don't even need to put despoiled. You could have just put spoiled, because that's what spoil means. Spoil means to rob. I think I like this one because when you go into the root word.
Strong's G 575.
Apa. I said apa because that was apostateo, but this apa, and I think I like apa better for the definition because it means of separation, right? Separation from what? From the rich and poor. There ain't no middle class. Either you're rich or you're poor now. That's the thing that they're going into. You will have nothing but love it, right? You're gonna be in your 15-minute cities, and you're gonna love it. Yeah, even right here, see, local separation. See, hey, separation between the rich and the poor, and then you're gonna have a local separation, right? Depart free. What is this? It says of a kind of separation of one thing from another, right? By which is union or friendship of the two is destroyed, right? So they're destroying the whole entire system through the corruption that they're doing, where they're having these direct energy weapons burn up Honolulu, or what is it? Not Honolulu, but it was Maui, right? Which that's crazy, because you know what Maui's known for, too. Over here is so-called weed. It's a weed called Maui Wowie, and what are they always talking about doing? Burning Maui Wowie, burning the weed, and then Maui actually gets burnt, man. Right? It says state of separation, right? See, I like this. It says I like this one. It says of a place whence anything is come, befalls, is taken, right? And that's ultimately what you are. You're befalled on what? On hard times. You're taken into poverty, right? Which that's what's going to happen to the elite also, right? But they're separating through their corruption, but the elites are going to fall into what? Poverty too, right? When all this is all said and done. Right? Because the elite, all these elite, they're going to fall into poverty. So the Lord's going to judge them. Ye have lived in pleasures on the earth, right? Talking about the elite. That's why the elder said, you know, he's talking to a specific type of Edomite, man. Not all to you, all Edomites. And being wanting, ye have nourished your hearts, right? Being proud. You have nourished your hearts, your mind, and is as in the day of slaughter, right? Fattening. The Lord allowing you to be fattened, right? Because what good is slaughtering a thing and you haven't fattened up the calf before you can eat? You know, you fatten up. You take a year. That's why the Lord said it has to be of a year, at least of a year old. You can't do it right when it's only a couple. You know what I mean? It has to be at least a year old. You're fattening it up, giving it the best grains and things. So when it's time for slaughter, hey man, it's gonna taste good, man. Right? And it's gonna be a good thing to slaughter, to take down you elites, man. So you could be the first fruits of slavery. Right? Ye have condemned and killed the just. See? That's what they did. The complete separation. They separated, right? And killed the just. And he doeth not resist you, right? Because what? People have to still feed their family. They go, oh, I gotta go to work. My kids need food. I need this. And so they make it to be where, like the scripture said, you're gonna have to go to your enemy for want of all things, man. So now you got to go to your enemy to have this, to have that. And now people are so conditioned, well, you're not resisting. A lot of people are going to line up for the Charagma, man. You're not going to resist. But that's not stopping them from killing you. That's not stopping them from putting pesticides and poisons. And they haven't even resisted. And they constantly continue to this deforestation, all these different things that they it's just really unnecessary to do. You're already in rulership. You're already ruling the world. Like, you already have it. You've already won, technically, as far as that. But not as far as what? Keeping it. Keeping the kingdom, or the kingdom that's going to be forever and ever and ever, belongs to our Lord, Yahweh Shai, and our King David, man. And the rest of the Israelites. That's it. Yeah, so this is Deuteronomy 24:15. At this day, thus shall give him his hire, right? Because you're supposed to pay a man every day his hire, and then you're not supposed to not give him what it's worth, because you're giving people pay, but it's not with gold. It's not actual a fair price, because that's not the true value of a day's wages without it being a not with silver or with gold. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor. Right, because they just said it in the Roman Empire, most of the people were poor, and they were trying to, like on the American thing, they were trying to say the rich get richer and the poor get poor, instead of just saying no, the majority of the people in America is poor, because that rich get rich and the poor get poor. That's been happening since the very beginning, so that it proves to you that everybody's here is poor. So there ain't no rich get richer. That's just a saying, and then the saying leaves people where they're not. What it says they're not resisting. They complain, but they don't resist. Oh, the rich get rich and the poor get poor. Oh, I'm gonna go to work again. Oh, da 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 da. And then they complain. Oh, da 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 da. But every president that goes up there, or every Congress, or every said that they're gonna do this, that, and another. They never do any of that stuff. And then you turn around and vote for somebody else the next year, and he'll promise that he's gonna do this, that, and this thing that's been going on since America started. And none of the policies or anything that they said they were gonna do has ever been done. And if they do something, they do something, and then they pass another bill secretly to wipe it back away. You know what I'm saying? So it says, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart, right, his mind, thoughts, you know, his desires, right, which is the heart, your lob, your mind, upon it, lest he cry against thee, unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto you. See, and that's what's happening, man. The poor is starting to cry unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and that the actual real poor is talking about the Israelites. Even though these other nations are so-called poor concerning society, but we're talking about poor as concerning everything, because we're poor as far as loved or renowned, or you know what I mean. We're poor as in everything. We're financially poor. You know what I'm saying? We're morally poor. And then as far as getting respect from all these other nations, we're poor in that too. No nation respects the so-called black man. No nation respects a so-called black woman. And then the coldest part about a so-called black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, not only do we not get a full respect from the world, we don't get the full respect from our women. Because there are women, no matter they're so-called Mexican or Puerto Rican or Native American, they're infatuated with the so-called white man, right? And they will give a white man all sorts of respect before they give you respect. So we're poor all the way around. So it says, for he is poor and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto thee. Right? It says this Deuteronomy chapter 15 verse 11, for the poor, right, which is actually talking about the Israelites, right? Not talking about every nation out there, even though there are other poor, so-called poor people of the other nations, but this is talking about the Israelites. Never cease out of thy land, neither therefore I have commanded thee, saying, right? Because see, you're a rich person, you're in rulership, you're doing these different things. You're supposed to take care of the poor, especially that poor being the children of Israel, right? But we know you despise us because you're sitting in our place. You're saying you wish you're Israel right? But it says therefore I have commanded thee, saying, thus shall open thy hand wide unto thy brother, right? Esau, ain't you our brother? To thy poor and to thy needy in thy land. So open it wide, right? So why would you be only your minimum wage will only be $7 or $14? Or whatever amount, which this equivalent of this thing has no backing. There's nothing. So really, you're handing $14 of thing that's equivalent to oil. Because if I pump oil out of the ground right now, there's nothing I can do with it unless I can try to pump it out, put it in a thing, put it on the market, and there's a lot you have to do that, which a regular, average, everyday person don't have. So why would you give me $14 and something that's for crude oil, right? Which there's really no backing behind it besides the military and this oil wherever it's at. So you're giving me this thing that's just up in the air for all my labor, right? And if thy brother, if thy brother in Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman buy or be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year, right, which this goes into what they do with what is it called, bankruptcy, because it used to be every 7 years you could claim bankruptcy so you could start all over, right? Which you shouldn't have to file for it. It should just automatically just fall off every 7 years, right? So then in the 7th year, thus shall let him go free from thee. See, all the debts, all the different things. So that way you always have a fresh start, right? Every 7 years you always have a fresh start, and you don't have to be completely poor all the time, right?
The Lord said the poor is always going to be around, but at least you have a fighting chance each 7 years. 7 years, another 7 years, boom. I have another chance to get things going good and having things right, because now my slate is clean again, or whatever, you know. It says, and when thus sendeth him out free from thee, thus shall not let him go away empty. See, but everything these elites do, who's saying that they're these people of the Bible, and they're ruling the world, all the banks, all the different things that they have, but they have us out here leaving empty all the time. So this is the key principles for them, you know, that's supposed to be Israel. And if God is this thing for everybody, since God loves everybody. And another thing about this is the so-called Christian, wouldn't you like for this to be in part of your practice? Because you say that the laws are done away with. Well, this is the law that will put the foot to these rulers, the job owners, the people who rule the country and things like that, where every 7 years you'll get a new start. See, but instead they'll teach you some BS in church and tell you that all the laws are done away with. I would think I would want this law to exist, right? Yeah, so this is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 16, for there shall be sedition amongst men. See, so basically with all this turmoil, with the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, all these different things, it's going to cause what? Civil unrest, right? So that's what it is. And men invading one another, right? Because of lack of what? Of bread, basically. It tells you that, you know, having resources, basically. That's what I want to say. Invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, right? Because all these politicians, all they've been doing is lying, this and that, and they're going to realize that nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to, so people are going to be, you know, hey, it's going to be a dog eat dog world, so to speak, you know, just, you know, in a literal sense, right? Because people are going to actually even eat each other, right? Basically, cannibalism is coming back in a real way. So it's going to be a dog eat dog world real soon. Yeah, and then they should not regard their kings nor princes, right? Their presidents, their mayors, their governor, all that, the ones who go up there and give them the shuck and jive and all this other stuff, because people are getting worried, all the little lies, and that's why they're interchanging these different presidents. And even back in the time of Rome, they interchanged all these different emperors, right? Which is the same thing as these presidents, right? So it says, and the cause of their actions shall stand in their power, and men shall desire to go into a city, right? Doing, you know, because, you know, you have to have order out of chaos. So once the chaos happened, now you have to bring in the so-called military to have, you know, a military presence, to have lockdowns, right? So you won't be able to go into another city. For man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because of their pride, the cities, right? Because we've been telling you the truth and what was going on about these leaders, about all these different things, you know, about your Christian churches, you know, your Joel Osteens with thousands and thousands of dollars inside the wall, you know, these are things. Hey, we've been telling you about these prosperity pastors and just everything, you know. Most of the stuff is fake, you know. We've been telling you. But, you know, the pride of you people, you just some niggas. You're uneducated niggas. So why should we listen to you? Hey, you don't have to. But because for the pride of the cities shall be troubled, right? Hey, trouble is coming. Their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. See, even men are going to be afraid. So what is it for you women? You're going to be past afraid. Hey, and a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So ultimately, all this thing comes down to this, and that's exactly how Rome got conquered, and it's the exact same thing that's going to happen to America. So call all Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Rakakadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. Salutation to the Akim and the four winds, preaching the truth with sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To your sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and a Baba Ball.